Hi, my name's Shannon Peerless and I'm Head of PR here at 10 Yetis.
And my name's Andy Barr and I'm Managing Director of 10 Yetis.
So I think one of the most annoying things about viral campaigns is the fact they're called viral, and also when clients come to you and they say, hey, how can I make this go viral? And you say, I want to hit you with a fish.
I think the whole point of that is you can't come up with a viral idea, you can only come up with an idea that you hope has the potential to go viral. So that's kind of where you have to start.
There's a couple of key things for us. Does the idea have the sort of pub factor? Can you imagine your mates talking about whatever you're proposing and sharing it? Is it easy to share as well?
Yeah, so if we come up with an idea in the office for a client and it gets us all talking and we go off on a massive tangent, then that's usually a good indication that it's going to do well as a story out in the open.
I guess there's a couple of fundamentals that we found, and I think we did a piece of research a couple of years ago around how Gangnam Style actually did go viral. And the big thing about that was the fact they had a ready built database of a couple of million people. So when they initially launched the song, they could immediately get sort of, I think it was 500,000 views on the first day, which automatically flags it up to YouTube as a fast growing video. So it's about having that database and the influencer outreach campaign and plans ready.
So the whole point of trying to make something go viral is that you need the people to be receptive to it, the people that you're sending it to. And the best way to do that is if you warm them up beforehand. So build a relationship with them, and you know the whole adage of don't on the first date. So in terms of the kind of content that goes viral, the number one thing usually is anything that's funny and is going to make people laugh. Usually anything with cute fluffy animals, but also more kind of serious, like heartwarming things as well that has a good positive or touching message to it. Yeah,
I think if you brand a pug dog with your logo, those are the kind of things that have historically done well on the internet. But for us, it's around things like these top 100 lists. Shannon did one a couple of months ago, the sort of top 100 things you need to know about PR, and it did really well. The whole industry was talking about it. But so it's those kind of things where you make it a really big piece of content. And I think it's BuzzSumo or BuzzStream where they were talking about things that invoke awe or humour are the things that sort of typically do well.
Yeah, and you need to make sure that you've got a particular audience that you're going after. Just because something goes viral amongst a certain group of people doesn't mean it will do well with another sort. So, if it's something that's, sector specific and it's that kind of area that you're looking to target, you just need to try and get the message right from the beginning.
I think that one of the frustrating things, and especially because we're trying to do a how-to guide here, is that when we looked at Social Santa or socialsanta.co, which was quite a big hit for us a couple of years ago and last year as well, when we looked at what actually kicked it off and who were the influencers behind it, it was actually the gaming press that sort of give it that initial boost. They saw it. A lot of sort of gaming bloggers and influencers in the gaming world on Twitter sort of spoke about it and shared it, and then it just went absolutely huge. And then that sort of leaked into the likes of the One Direction fan base were talking about it, and we could see that spreading. So you can never really tell. You might think one particular niche would be interested, but you can't really tell. It's best to cast your net wide, and this comes back to getting those big databases built of people that you can go out to when it actually launches.
Yeah, because you can't just sort of go from a cold start. You have to have somewhere that you're targeting. You can't just create something and then hope for the best. You need to kind of have an action plan of how you're going to get it out there.
I think one of the key things for us, and one of the things we talk about in terms of what's the nitty gritty of what you need to do, and Gangnam Style was a good example of this, is having professional, catchy, bright images and engaging images, not just something off your iPhone, actually getting pro stuff to support it. And this is probably consistent across with all content marketing, not just, specific things that you're trying to take mainstream. It's always about having pro images and making it the best that it can be. Silly things like, giving things royalty free so people can sort of make it into a meme or meme and share it, and just doing those sort of basic things that will really help, making it as easy as possible for people to share.
Yeah, I think it's rare that something goes viral without a good image or a good video, so unless you've got that, really you're going to kind of struggle to get something to go viral.
So I think when you look at how you actually kick off campaigns, obviously you have your databases that you're going to push stuff out to, but the key thing to remember nowadays is it's very much pay to play on social media. So unless you've got a decent budget to put behind initially seeding it on Facebook and Twitter and places like that to sort of get that groundswell, it's very unlikely that it's going to take off. You need to have that budget behind it.
And in our experience as well, there's not really much point in bothering with offering something exclusively to somebody if you're trying to make it go viral, because what happens then is often you get stuck waiting around for them to actually use it, and you've kind of promised them that you won't go elsewhere with it, and that can kind of delay the whole process of trying to make it go big. So really your best bet is to just go out widely with it from the get-go.
Yeah, I think if we draw on the example of Beard Olympics, which we ran this year and had a couple of million hits, there's a couple of things there. We obviously went to a lot of influencers that we could see talking about hipster things and sort of did outreach to them. We had a decent side advertising budget to kick it off. But also, with all of these things, it's an element of luck. I think we always talk about the 10-to-1 ratio. For every 10 campaigns that we think are going to absolutely fly and do well, it comes down to only one of them actually works. It sort of picks up that mainstream, and a lot of it is launching at the right time, not having much media distraction in terms of other big stories that are going on, and and really relying on the sort of databases that you pulled together before.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of timing as well, because if you're going to look to release something when there's something big coming up, like a budget being announced or something like that, it's probably just going to absolutely die really, and you need to kind of make sure that there isn't anything big sort of planned in the media agenda that it's going to kind of clash with and kind of get lost under.
It's about understanding as well the life cycle of these kind of campaigns now is so short. Probably Gangnam Style is probably one of the longest, although it was a couple of years ago, it's probably one of the longest pieces of essentially content marketing, and they managed to spin it out for a few months because they had a clear plan of, okay, when it's starting to slow down, we're going to bring in a new element to it. So the new element after the initial launch was announcing that Psy had been signed to the likes of Scooter Braun, so they were able to sort of extend it for a bit longer, and then there was the Guinness World Record about the most amount of views, so that gave it an extra sort of couple of days. But really nowadays, content lives for a few days, dies, and people move on, and you're just hoping that whatever your end result of trying to do these campaigns, whether that's newsletter database growth, raise awareness, or bottom line sales, which is the main thing, it's about realising that these things don't last for very long anymore. You've just got to crack on and make hay while the sun shines.
So just to wrap this up, in terms of some of the tools that we use to get things out there and actually make things go viral, one of the most important things is targeting journalists. So we use media lists, which we build through the likes of Features Exec, and that kind of enables us to build really targeted lists that we can approach with the images or the video content that we have. So that's a really good place to start. And also Twitter, that's probably one of the key platforms on which things do go viral. So enabling to use hashtags and target kind of influencers on there, whether it's tweeting them directly or just approaching them and trying to ask them to tweet something out for you. So I think as well as that, sort of Facebook and kind of other areas like that.
There's nothing left for me now. No. So I think there's a couple of things from a content discovery point of view and understanding what's done well historically, so you can rip it off and pretend it's your own idea. You've got things like BuzzSumo, where you can go in and see what kind of content's done well, and then you kind of move on to, okay, so you've launched a campaign, what kind of tools can you use to keep that campaign going? So we use things like Topsy to see where conversations are happening and where influencers are getting involved. There's all that kind of upstream and downstream, which is a terrible wank word, information. So you've got places like Blue Nod where you can kind of see, okay, who's influential within a sector, and try and tap them up. And then you've got things like Listed, LISSTED, which is owned by the Real Wire guys, where you can go and see sort of ready-made lists on Twitter of influencers within particular sectors. So it's a lot easier now, I guess sort of 4 or 5 years on from Gangnam Style, to actually put together these outreach lists, and there's loads of sort of companies that can help you do that. So thank you very much for listening to us prattle on. Let's have our last point. So what would you say, Shazlar, is the golden rule of going viral?
Don't say go viral.